Peace, light, love, and liberation to you all. Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk with Kasim. Real Talk with Kasim is designed to bring information and concerns of our community to the forefront. We here at Real Talk with Kasim, we respect the opinions and we value our guests. We value our leadership. We value the comments. We here at Real Talk with Kasim do not entertain gossip, nor do we entertain disrespect. We humbly ask that we all remain respectful towards one another at all times. We at Real Talk with Kasim aspire to inspire before we expire. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Respect, love, honesty, admiration, and upliftment is needed at all times. Peace, light, and love.
Welcome to Real Talk with Kasim.
Let's push things forward.
Hey, the show that aspires to inspire before we expire.
Let's push things forward.
Peace, light, love, and liberation to you all. Welcome to Real Talk with Kasim. We appreciate you for being here, for tuning into the show. You know and understand that there's a lot of other things that you could be doing right now. You are taking initiative to be with us, and we appreciate that. And it does not go unnoticed. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Tonight's topic in which we will speak on is going to be entitled, Where Do We Go From Here? But before we get into that, I want to give strong condolences to everyone whom lost a loved one. I want to give you our condolences. We send you our prayers. Also would like to say happy born day to brother Stacy Pyron. The brother turned 74 today. 74. Peace and blessings, cuzzo. Peace and blessings, cuzzo. Peace and blessings. That's beyond the milestone. And nowadays, that's considered a lifetime. But in all actuality, every day that you get to live and survive, that's a blessing in itself. So to everyone who's having a born day, whether it was today, whether it was the past day, we would like to say happy born day to you all. You don't understand that right now, here in Passaic anyway, the weather is cold. The wind is blowing tremendously. So stay warm, stay embraced, stay in prayer. Also want to say Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah barakatuh to all of those Muslim brothers and sisters right now are invested in embracing Ramadan. I just actually left from the masjid and made salat and broke fast. You know, to everyone who's embracing Ramadan, say Ramadan Mubarak. And also say to you, Jazakallah Khaim. With that being said, tonight's topic, we got two individuals who, you know, these are my go-to people. We got the Minister of Information, you know, y'all call him Marvin Walker. I call him Dr. Marvin Walker. You know what I mean? Got the PhD in power healing to the deaf, dumb, and blind. Also, we got the sister. That's my go-to for real, y'all, for sure, as we say. That sister Maritza, who she also has a PhD in power healing for the deaf, dumb, and blind. So they all doctors. They're all doctors here. But we're going to get into it. And remember, information is free. It's what you do with it that costs. So I want to thank these individuals, this king and this queen, for coming on. We're about to bring them to the screen because they could have been doing something else. Like Maritza had a whole nother thing that she was doing with her husband tonight. And regardless if they make it or don't make it there, what happens is she was doing it from her phone. So she's diligent in supporting and giving out this information. So with that being said, I want to first bring to the stage, which is our screen, the Queen Maritza.
How are you?
All right, and yourself, beloved.
I am blessed Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me and asking me to be, to have this conversation with you this evening.
Always, always. Now, I know you're going in, so I'm gonna take you off. I don't want people to see where you live at now, and then I'll bring you back on. Pardon me. Also, we have to bring on Real Talk with Kasim's Minister of Information. You know him, y'all know him, we know him. Dr. Marvin Walker.
What's going on, good people? What's happening? We're back.
He's back. And peace to the brother, Kenny Man. He said, welcome back, King. Welcome back to you as well. Coming back with us. So let me put it on the screen. And listen, we had two other individuals, a king and a queen, who was supposed to be here tonight. That's Sister Tharea and Brother TJ. But at this dispensation in time, both of them are feeling under the weather. So we'll have a later discussion. We'll arrange it and we'll bring them back on at a later time. With that being said, Brother Marv, what are we doing tonight?
Yes. Tonight is a continuation or a building on our freestyle conversation last week, where you went live and we just kind of went at it. But this week is a build off of Dr. King's last book before he was assassinated. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And I figured that would be a great discussion to have with you and I, the panelists, and all the folks who are listening here. You know, we build and learn in community. No individual, you can learn by yourself, but the greater learning takes place in community. We all know a little bit of something, and we bring it all into the pot, mix it together to form a revolutionary force.
So, Brother Marv, hold on one second. This, I said, hold on to me, and I want to give a strong shout out to Miss Walker, Marv's wife, keeping him on point. Keeping him on point. But I want to jump to this. Hold on one second. I'm looking for something. So I have some questions while we wait for the sister Maritza. First, how you feeling, brother?
I'm good, man. You know, good. And I think that we're in some revolutionary times, just about our consciousness and how we take advantage of the times that exist. We can see them as dark times, or we can see them as time of an opportunity to escape the duopoly and build something beautiful.
Peace and brother. Peace and blessings to the King, Brian Shepherd.
BC, what's in the building?
Peace.
What's up, my brother?
And we got it right here. Look, Marv. Brother TJ Whitaker, peace and blessings, King. He says, thank you, brother.
That's him right there, ladies and
Marv.
gentlemen.
Looking forward to building with y'all in the future. Apologies for my illness today, brother. No need to apologize, man.
Absolutely.
That's something that we can't control. You didn't know it was going to come up. It was going to fall dormant upon you. So we good, brother. But, you know, salute to you, right, King. Looking forward to building with you, my brother. But right now, the best thing we could do is send positive energy to you in the form of healing. So therefore, everything will be okay with you, brother.
That's right. That's
and all your loved ones.
That's an amazing brother right there, man.
Yeah. You know. Looking forward to building with brother TJ.
Absolutely.
Looking forward.
Absolutely.
The Queen Maritza could just give me the thumbs up in the background and I'll bring her on. She'll let me know.
No
she'll
question.
Let me know when. But Marv, let me ask you this too.
Yes.
I got you. What you got? Maritza doing it big. Nah, she got. Oh, she had two cameras. I thought about to say she got two angles. Like she's like, okay, like we doing the whole shit.
Hollywood to the building.
Maritza doing it big. For those who are just tuning in, welcome to Real Talk with Kasim. And like I said, the sister was getting out of the car, but now she's in the house. We don't want no one to know where she lives. That's her personal space. With that being said, help me welcome back to the screen, Sister Maritza.
Thank you.
Well, salute to you, sister.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.
That's a blessing. Brother Kenny
Wednesday. And you know it, my man. There's Kenny in the building.
Was a teacher in high school. Now he's a teacher at the college level.
I'm trying.
BC says, wasn't going to miss this one. We appreciate you, beloved. We appreciate you, King. We appreciate you. Let me ask you both this. Let me start off like this, if I may. At this dispensation in time, I know there's a amount of things going on. But let me ask you both. Any one of you could just jump in and answer. What do you think that's going on that would be considered one of the many critical issues that's going on right now?
Oh my goodness, how many things between ICE raids, between federal employees being let go, and then the Department of Education, the attempt to dismantle the Department of Education, and then of course the fourth thing is DEI being, erased. Anything having to do with DEI on every level, in the education space, at work, anywhere that anyone is talking about anything that has to do with people of color is being erased. Like they're trying to erase us, like we're going somewhere. So,
but Richard, being that you said that, first question for you: how does the current threats of the Trump administration to abolish the Department of Education affect you and your community and national parent education or education organizations?
Well, what's happening is this: anyone that has a child that is receiving any type of assistance, whether it be if a child has special education for something that has been diagnosed for their child. Hey, Trent. And I want to make this clear. Children that are gifted are also considered under the umbrella of special education as well. So it's not just children that have emotional or behavioral issues. It's also children that are gifted and talented that are considered under special education. A child that just may have a 504B plan, that they happen to learn differently and might need a little bit more time. All of that is going away. Any child that attends a school where they get free lunch, if the person that is currently in the White House has his way, there will be no more free breakfast and lunch for children that go to any Title I school. Any Title I school means any school, whether it's an urban school or rural school that happens to be low income. Any perks that they may have been having or receiving, it's going to go away if they are successful in removing the Department of Education, all the protections.
So as an educator and community parent advocate, how important is it for people to join community organizations such as the one you are involved in?
Well, I am no longer with the National Parents Union, but I'm always have been an education and education and community advocate. So that's never going to go away, regardless of who I'm working with or who I partner with. So I'm always going to be in those spaces. Families are scared. Families are worried. It should not be where you are either very affluent and have access to all these amazing things, or unfortunately happen to be a child that is under the child welfare system for them to be getting any kind of assistance. So everybody that's left in between, they're scared. They're worried. What's going to happen with my child's education? If they obliterate the Department of Education, things like a Pell Grant and, FAFSA, Federal Financial Student Aid, all those things are going away. So any child or any family that has aspirations of going to college, unless you have money like that, those loans are going to go away. No one's going to be eligible for a loan. They're not going to be deemed eligible. They're not going to be deemed for assistance. So it's going to be there are a lot of scared families right now.
Right. Now, Marv.
What's up?
Richard, right on point. She opened up the segue for all these questions, right?
Yeah,
that's
all good.
That's perfect. Marv, can
up?
the current major political parties serve the needs of the majority of people in the United States?
The answer to that is they can't. Neither party was designed to serve the needs of the masses of people. And what I ultimately hope is that the people begin to understand that and begin to build a national separate party outside of the duopoly. the duopoly as it exists, as they were designed, can never serve the needs of the masses of people. They serve the elite. And what they do is they just kind of transfer and fight over rulership. As I said, you have one party, which is the Republican conservative side of the coin, which is basically what you would call the oligarchic elite. And what you see is the very thing that Maritza is talking about. They believe in destruction of various institutions. And why? Let's talk about education. They've been going after education directly since probably the 1950s. There was a gentleman by the name of Milton Friedman who wanted to know, he was an economist. I think he's out of the University of Chicago, but I forget. When he talked about privatizing schools. Now, think about the period that we're talking about, the privatization of schools. We're talking about it on the heels of Brown v. Board of Education. When the discussion of school integration was taking place. So right there, they begin to talk about charter schools, these private schools siphoning off money from public schools. And what happens is that you get you destroy the Department of Education, which the first Department of Education came about in 1867. So that's the original Department of Education. It came about through radical reconstruction. But what they ultimately did is they removed it from a federal agency and kind of made it a toothless agency. So it kind of existed in the background. Then we get the Department of Education, the recreation of the department as a federal department under Jimmy Carter. Ronald Reagan, the ray gun, was going after the Department of Education, but he was a few votes short. I don't know if it's the House or the Senate, so he couldn't get it done. So Trump and his cronies are trying to do some of the things that Ronald Reagan wasn't able to do in terms of the Department of Education. But if you destroy it, then you open the door for these privateers to come in and create these particular private institutions, these charter schools. These charter schools, which don't necessarily have the level of standards. And getting back to the Department of Education, because I don't want to leave that. That's the Department of Education. Maritza listed all of the funding things that will be wiped out. Other than that, taxes pay for the education in communities. So one of the main purposes was to try to equalize at least the funding in education. That's one of the main things that the department does. Wipe that out, then all of that funding goes awry, as Maritza is ultimately talking about. So each party, you got the corporate elite that destroy, not the corporate elite, but the oligarchic elite. And then you got the corporate elite, which are the Democrats. They like to keep things a steady flow. None of them are concerned about the masses of people. And that's the problem why neither party can ever ultimately serve. And we need to begin to think about building something like our ancestors did. They built things that they know they weren't going to see, but would be an investment in the next generation. We have to begin to do the same thing, to build things for our children and our children's children, but it has to be outside of the duopoly, because it was never designed to do the very thing that we're asking it to do. And the only thing we're going to ever get are the crumbs that fall off of the table of each party. And that's ultimately not enough. They weren't inclusive parties to begin with. White supremacy goes from party to party. Remember, it was part of the Democratic Party. And then after Lyndon Baines Johnson, they switched over to the Republican Party. So we don't get a win either way. We ultimately need to build something outside of the duopoly, because it cannot serve the interests of the masses of people.
I've been in courtrooms where I literally have heard a judge say, an individual say to a judge, well, you're not following the Constitution. And the judge said, I don't have to follow the Constitution in this courtroom. This is my court. So with all of this stuff going on, Maritza, as an educated parent advocate and a person who identifies as what they deem the Afro-Latino, why is it important for these communities to do as George Jackson advises and settle your quarrels and come together?
If we don't come together, what they like is the divisiveness. What those that are right now pulling all the strings like to see is everyone fighting against each other. We just had a presidential campaign in which many people voted for a person that does not care for the common man or woman or family. Just as Brother Marvin stated, the oligarchs, they're the ones that want to stay in power. They want to dictate to everyone else who should be working, how they should be spending their money. I mean, the mere fact that, I personally know people that got let go from their federal jobs. I personally know people that got that memo last week saying, give me 5 bullet points, let me know what you did last week to see if you are deemed worthy of maintaining your employment. Wow. And I'm talking about people that have made a career. Everyone thought a federal job was safe. You get in right after high school, you can retire after working 20, 25, 30 years. That is not the case anymore. It has gotten to the point where either we unify or there are going to be some very, very desperate situations with regard to people pointing fingers and not being supportive of each other. And that is what we need to try to avoid. We have to not just do it in a time of, it is a time of chaos right now. A lot of people are afraid, but we have to rise above that fear and work together and create our own. Create our own schools. If our schools are going to be obliterated, create our own. If our history is they're trying to erase our history, we got to maintain it. Many of us have overflowing bookshelves like Marvin has behind him. Many of us have that. Many of us have those overflowing bookshelves. Many of us love being in the library with our children, reading to them, teaching them. Many of us have elders in our families that know histories. We got to share those and record those and document those so that they will not forget. And that's what they want. And I've said this before, every decade or so, there's a major crisis that goes on in this country that we have to unify regarding. And right now we are at a point where we just had people in the White House telling off the president of Ukraine, threatening him with World War III. We just had that yesterday. We just had that 2 days ago. It was incredible. And then, by a lunatic, a man that got voted in the office.
Yeah, for certain.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe it. You're talking about bullies and they're showing who is the original gang that exists. It's amazing.
But the interesting thing is that when you look at this, for the oligarchs, their focus is China, right? The Democrats, the focus is Russia. Ultimately, they want to create these enemies because they have a military budget which is $850 billion, so that they can keep feeding these corporate entities that build these weapons. If America stopped building weapons for just, say, 1 year, can you imagine what $850 billion can build? But you see, if you create these boogeymen around the world, exactly, there it is. Mark, right? The lunatics are the ones who voted for him. If we kept that 850, homelessness and poverty could be eradicated with about $75 billion. You could get rid of, you could wipe out poverty with $75 billion. So they're spending $850 billion on weapons and for preparing for wars that we ultimately don't have. And if we have them, we start them. So that money could be used. So instead of taking money away from the military industrial complex, which they can afford, they're talking about malfeasance with federal workers, just basic workers. And they've actually managed to basically fool us into believing that unions are no good. The percentage of unions in this country was at a high, probably around, I would say, maybe right after the Great Depression. Now unionship is maybe less than 10% in this country. How do you convince people, workers that is, that unions are no good for them? Well, as Maritza talked about, you have all of these different things to keep folks separated. Our issues are centered around race, class, gender. It's not one by itself. It's all of those things put together. But when you go, so poor white folks are suffering from class issues, but whiteness blinds them from that. The idea of whiteness, they can be just as broke, that blinds them from that. Black folks and folks of color pretty much suffer from pretty much the trifecta. White women suffer from sexism generally, and they were the major beneficiaries of affirmative action. Yet 77% of them voted against affirmative action. So they have us twisting and turning. It's kind of like, I think about it as if you watch a bullfight. The matador is who the bull should be focused on, should be attacked. The bull should be attacking the matador, but you have this cape being waved, and the bull goes for the cape as opposed for going to kill the matador. We focus on the cape instead of focusing on the system that keeps all of us oppressed.
Being that you said a system that keeps us oppressed, yesterday was a day in which a lot of people came together, right, to show strength in our dollar, strength of our unification. I haven't heard no statistics back. But tell me, what do you both feel about it? And the reason why I'm saying this is because it was brought to my attention by an individual who said, well, so what are we going to do this just for this one day, and then tomorrow we're going to go back and spend the money? And you had others that say, well, there's other things that we could have done. I feel like whenever we come together to do something, to try to make some type of stance, there's always some type of feedback. There's always, to that extent of just, if you know that it can make an impact, just join it, just do it, because it's going to be for the betterment. But then you still have some psychologically embedded in our states through the system in which we call white supremacy. Like, what? Why are we like that? Like, how do you feel about yesterday? I'm asking the both of you.
That one day is not even a drop in the bucket. If we want to hurt these corporations' pockets, it has to be on a continual, consistent basis. That means no more Amazon, no more Target, no more Aldi. If those that can't afford it, no more Walmart. Because I know one thing, a lot of people say stuff about Walmart, but Walmart, because they're not as expensive as all the other major stores out there, and not everyone can afford a membership to a Costco. Not everybody can afford that. Not everybody can get to a Costco. So it's about, if we have to find other sources of goods. People have been coming out with a lot of lists. There are lists out there for all Black-owned businesses. There are lists out there for all Latino-owned businesses. There are lists out there for more natural food resources. People are joining co-ops for food. They're growing their own foods. They're, sewing their own clothes. And we are in a more modern age now, but If we want these entities that have been making billions and trillions of dollars off of our backs to stand up and notice, it can't. One day it's not going to do it. I mean, I support it. I didn't buy a thing yesterday, but like you said, today I had to go food shopping.
Right.
And it's a reality. So it's something that unless people find an alternate source and stay consistent with that patronage of that source, corporations are not worried about a boycott. They absolutely are not worried or concerned.
Brother Dow Finney, peace and blessings, beloved Peace King,
my man.
Says, peace to the panel. The thing that has been most frustrating is the so-called cuts are a drop in the bucket compared to the defense budget. Per brother Marvin points, but yet they will try to increase or maintain the defense budget.
Absolutely.
Brother Marco, Peace King, how you doing, beloved? Says the same with DEI. The root of the outrage is rooted in racism, but it helps women and LGBTQ and the physically and mentally disabled.
And that's a fact. I wanted to piggyback off of what Maritza was saying. You know, Amilcar Cabral, who revolutionary, fighting for the independence of Guinea and Cape Verde in Africa, assassinated. I think he was assassinated in 1973, maybe. He talks about this idea of, he said, you measure people's potential for liberation based on how different their culture is from their oppressors. And that's important. That's an important point, because it's going to require some level of sacrifice on all of us if we're ultimately going to eventually overthrow this particular thing. At some point, we're going to realize it's not the roommates in the room that's the problem. It's not the structure. It's not the room itself that's the problem. It's the way the structure and the room has been built that will always be the problem. And we have to begin to understand that. Now, we can buy Black, we can buy Latino, we can do all of that. But we have to understand that in itself in the global economy, that's not going to be enough. Now, it's kind of like what the Panthers talked about. They said survival pending revolution. Those are the things that we're going to have to do to stay alive. But as Maritza's saying, we need to put these folks out of business, period. There ain't no going back. They need to be put out of business. But the thing about it is that we have to understand that at some particular point, it's the restructuring of the system that has to take place, or we'll continue to return to this particular point. We are fighting battles that our ancestors won. They won these battles, but a lot of it has to do with not recognizing the history. So of course they're going to go after the history, because in the history are the seeds of radicalism. In those history, you begin to see those folks who struggled and who constantly fought against a particular system. Our ancestors have taken us, I like to say, freedom from slavery, freedom from Jim Crow, freedom from those particular things. The mission of our generation is freedom too. Where are we talking about going now? It's freedom too. But we have to reimagine what freedom is. Freedom cannot be the same particular freedom. Our freedom can't be the freedom of the oppressors. And the oppressors come in various shapes, sizes, and colors. Capitalism is the oppressor. How do we begin to design a more humane system? We've been doing that. Colonized people in this country and around the globe have ultimately been doing that. We've been in survival mode. But even the idea of doing for self is important, but it's a temporary solution to ultimately restructuring the whole society. Along the way now, we need to put some folks out of business permanently. Whoever we can. Look, I always hear this is actually a war. You hear the comparisons about the Montgomery bus boycott. And some of the comparisons are fair, but some are not. The 65% of the residents in Montgomery or more were Black folks that were riding those buses. 90 to 95% of the people participated. That was also only a one-day boycott. I mean, that was the design, but it lasted a year, and it has lasted a year and a month. But we have to figure out what is it that we exactly want out of this. It's not enough for us to make their pockets hurt. They go crying, we go run back to shopping to them. We have to begin to find whatever the alternatives are. Along the way, we ultimately find those places that are at least sensitive to our needs, and not just word of mouth, but actually sensitive to our needs. Those are the places that we can ultimately support.
So basically, you answered some of it, but let me go to the question. There are often cries and even movements within the Black community regarding doing for self, as you spoke about, financial literacy as a path to freedom, and pulling our resources together, building our own businesses. Can any of the above methods alone lead to liberation of the masses of Black and other marginalized communities?
I'm gonna let Maritza jump in there because
it can happen if we stop fighting with each other. It absolutely can happen. It can happen if we try to putting each other down. I mean, you've all seen it. We've all seen it. Those of you that are watching have seen it. We've seen people that look like us say some really outlandish things to put someone else down that looks like them. You know, the criticism, the beratement, the attempts at humiliation, that has to stop. I mean, I'm of a mindset that if I'm doing well and I'm succeeding, I'm reaching back and bringing somebody forward with me.
That's right.
If I've had the opportunity to bring somebody on, help somebody get a job, give someone a good referral, I do it. I do it because I feel that, you know, if I can do it for someone else, then it's going to continue, that they're also going to do it for someone else as well. You know, for every blessing, there's another one that comes along. So we have to stop tearing each other down and working with each other. If someone's doing well, if someone is doing something so well, why not see if you can emulate, you know, what that is? If there is a school that is cranking out amazing students, well-read, worldly educated students, and that school is successful in graduating students, we got to replicate that school. We got to find out what that school leader is doing and bring it, you know, to other communities. You know, stop working in silos. That's the main thing that I'm saying. We got to stop working in silos. We're not recreating the wheel. There are many organizations, many movements that have been successful. Let's look at those. And that's what they're trying to erase. As we've been saying, they're trying to erase history because they don't want a repeat of the successful things happening. We are amazing. We are intelligent. We are beautiful. We are resourceful. We are hardworking. But what they want to portray is something else.
Right. Oh man, this is
Respect, love, honesty, admiration, and upliftment is needed at all times. Peace, light, and love.
If you're just tuning in to Real Talk with Kasim, thank you for tuning in. We don't understand that you could be doing something else, but you all are here with us, and we appreciate that. We got Dr. Marvin Walker on. We got Dr. Maritza. Maritza, am I pronouncing it right? Guridi?
You know, he's going to mess
Did I
it
get
up.
it right? I got it. All
No,
right.
you're doing good. You're doing good.
She used to be on me about that. But listen, for all you who are tuning in now, or even if you listen to the show or watch the show on the back play, one of the things that's very critical that we need you to do is to go to Real Talk with Kasim on YouTube. We need you to subscribe to the page. So therefore, it can take the information that we're giving, it can go to on a whole nother level. This is the ways and means in which we get the information out there. So if you are in tune with YouTube, we are humbly and respectfully asking that you please go to YouTube and subscribe to Real Talk with Kasim. Please subscribe to Real Talk with Kasim. It will help us take this to a whole nother level, because this information needs to be out there. This is why we're doing it. This is why they're here giving the information, is because it needs to be out there. And this is our job to do. Also, if you don't mind, if anyone could donate, it doesn't matter even if it's $1. Like I showed this before. When I showed them to the brothers, I showed it again. I don't want to mess up the system. We had Brother Marvin, Dr. Marvin Walker. We also had Sister Claudia Hairston donate, and we were able to get this. I want to show it so people can see, so you know where the money is going for the show. I was able to get this. Or it helps us with the show. That way we can get call-ins and things of that nature. And we are going to open up the phones for you to call in and say whatever it is that you have to say, because this is about engagement. We don't like to keep this as one of the shows where we just have speakers come on and you comment. We don't read your comments, or you don't get the like, damn, I would like to say something, because there's someone out there who may have even more information or some information that we don't have about the specifics in which we are talking about. So this is engagement. This is for everybody. And when I say we're going to open up the phones, my brother Marv, Dr. Marv was like, yeah, we got to do that. We got to do that, because Marv is very inspirational in helping us get to where we need to be, as Maritza, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be here giving this information. And we applaud that. We really applaud that. So if you can, we know and understand there's hard times out here. We're not asking you to send $1,000, $100, or $50, not even $10. If you could send $1, you can cash app it to Real Talk with Kasim. That's $ real, REAL, talk, TALK, with WITH, Kasim, KASIM. I just put it on the board. You can see it. You can cash app Real Talk with Kasim. I promise you that what it is, like, we need a new system now. When we get that, we will show you. So you'll know that whatever donation we get is going to exactly what we're talking about we need for the show, because eventually we're going to end up getting a place where we have everything set up. Instead of doing it virtually, we'll pay for Richard to come. We'll pay for Marvin to come, and we have an inside conversation. But for now, this is the means in which we also have to do it. And also, the StreamYard costs money. It costs $460 a year for us to be able to have this, so that way we can stream it to other platforms. So we want to be able to stream this to other ones, to the Instagram, also the other programs, but it's cost effective. So we humbly and respectfully ask, if you can, please donate to Real Talk with Kasim. That's on Cash App it. That's $ Real Talk with Kasim. It will truly, truly help.
Respect, love, honesty, admiration, and upliftment is needed at all times. Peace, light, and love.
All right, now let me get to the brother that I had posted. Let me see what he said. He said, every revolution requires sacrifice, and our people spend $1.3 trillion. Let me say that number again. $1.3 trillion a year. We need to get organized and strategic with our spending power. That is a fact. The brother also says conversations like this is good. It's a good start. Peace to you, brother Kasim. Peace to you as well, brother, because it won't be successful without you tuning in. Brother Kenny says we need a strong movement like Black Wall Street. Brother Dow also says 2 words, financial literacy. Matter of fact, how about if we do this now? If you don't mind, let's open up the phones. How do you feel about that, Richard Marv? Want to open up the phones?
Oh, yeah, for certain. Yes, let's do it.
All right, so if you want to, I got everything is locked, everything is hooked together. If you would, one of you could put it in the comments. If you want to call in, you can call in now at 973-905-1547. That's 973-905-1547. If you want to say anything, this is your opportunity for tonight's show. You could call in. Once again, that's 973-905-1547. The Queen Maritza put it in the comments. It's right here. I'm going to leave it up for a minute. It's open for the duration of the show. So if you want to call up, just call up the number. The number's on the screen. Even now, I will promote more comments, but I'm going to put that back up. So it's open. If you want to call, just come on in and call. Go
I
ahead,
wanted to add something to what Maritza and Brother Darrell was saying in terms of the 1.5 billion that we ultimately have. We have to be careful of something, right? Because we talked about how we get sidetracked. And one of the ways that we get sidetracked is to think that that number that they gave us in terms of what that's been given about our spending power, that was really for marketers, not necessarily power. They called it power, but it was more so how much money folks had to spend. That doesn't account. So when you take that 1.5 billion, that's not like excess money. That's including the bills that folks are paying. They're incorporating in that every single Black person, including children, and it just doesn't necessarily compute in terms of the number. The other thing it does is it takes the heat off of the structures that created the particular disparities between Black, Latino, and white folks in terms of the amount of wealth they had. White folks didn't just get their wealth. That's kind of like the myth. They just are smarter spenders. In fact, no one is, I know we go with the myths, no one is smarter spenders than Black and Latino people because we don't have the resources. So we have to be smarter in terms of our spending. Now, I'm not saying that we can't learn financial literacy, but those things alone aren't necessarily going to free us. I talked last week about 2 Homestead Acts, the one in 60 and the one in like 65 or whatever. 1.5 million people got access to land and resources from that Homestead Act. Out of that 1.5 million, 3,000 to 5,000 were Black people. Trace the wealth in 2000, 46.5 million people could trace their wealth to Homestead Acts. So let's not forget that's just starting there. Black folks and other minority groups of people in this country didn't have access to Social Security benefits. They came out in about 36. We didn't start getting it until the mid-50s. Even those veterans that had VA loans, Black and Latino veterans that these VA loans couldn't get housing. The Fair Housing Act didn't come out until 68. So we're talking about if we don't get with the structure, we have to, at the same, we can be as financially, fiscal responsibility and all those things, but other folks didn't get their money fiscally responsible. They got their money by raping and robbing folks in other countries. So let's not ultimately forget that. And we're not talking about the wiping away of Native Americans, the mistreatment of Black and Latino workers, and the enslavement of Black folks, which most of that labor, we're talking free labor generally. So what I'm saying is that we can do all of that, but if we don't fix the structure, we let the very structure that created the disparities off the hook. So I'm never for letting them off the hook. We can do all of those particular things, but I equate it to this. Don't ask Black, Latino, Native American, poor white folks. I was looking at the history of Major League Baseball, National League, then the American League. There are about 240,000 baseball games that have been played in the history. I don't know if that includes players, but 240,000. In those 240,000 games, there have been about 350 no-hitters. But out of the 350 no-hitters, there have been 24 perfect games where there were 27 up, 27 down. Don't ask marginalized people. You're asking marginalized people to be perfect just to make it. That's not going to happen. Don't ask us to throw no hitters, after being marginalized. Yes, we have to fight. And listen, we wouldn't be, don't get it twisted. We wouldn't be here if we weren't fighting. Don't think that folks haven't fought. We fought to get the little bit that we got. Those are blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. So I don't want to pretend like that wasn't the case. Now we have to begin to look at the whole structure. When Dr. King in his last year, started talking about, look, he said, Black, we could save, we could do all of that stuff. But he said, I'm talking about there has to be a structural change in this country. There has to be a structural change. Why they fight all of these particular things is that they're afraid of a few Black and Latino folks getting in positions. You know, it doesn't really hurt necessarily. The only reason it hurts their pockets is because of the greed, the ultimate greed. Look, there's enough money to make sure everyone has a living wage, working and non-working, be able to put their kids into college, be able to have decent housing. We could have all of that. And so when people say you got to work harder, who's work harder for less than the people on this screen and poor white folks? No one's worked harder for less.
You know what it seems to me like as well is that, unfortunately, Black and brown people that's in these political positions within inside the cities where we at are not doing a damn thing for us. Too often at times, to the point that a lot of individuals don't understand, or no, not that they don't understand, that's part of it. But they look at it like, well, okay, they're doing the DEI, they're doing this, they take cutting taxes. To them, they don't even, it's like, you understand what I'm saying? It's like, who matters? We're not getting nothing done here. So whatever they do there, who cares? And it's a bad ideology to have, but at the same time, it's understood. How do we more or less get the information? Not so much get to, like, how do we reverse that mindset of our people? You know, like, for example, in Passaic, they're talking, and according to what my understanding is, they get ready to take down the projects. They get ready to knock down the projects like they did Alabama projects in Patterson and CCP, and they're giving vouchers. What is these vouchers going to do? You know how many displacement people there's going to be? How many homeless people? And the homeless people are going to be the people that you and I know, our families. So when they're facing these challenges, and then they're going to their local politicians and saying, well, look, which will be the local council persons, the mayors and assemblymen that's right here. And they're looking like they're not doing anything. Look, like, what can we do? And they feel like hopeless. And when we get individuals that start feeling hopeless, they're not going to care about nothing we say. They're not going to want to participate in anything. So what do we do to reverse that psychology?
We have to make every attempt to change those that have that sense of apathy. That apathy, that it doesn't matter, that my vote won't matter. I tell people, I'm in Philly. I tell the politicians here, the elected officials here, I know them. I call them out. I've gotten to know them. I got them in my phone. I got their personal cell numbers. And I tell them, don't come to my neighborhood giving out no damn free turkeys. I don't need your turkey. I don't need your book bags when it's back to school. I don't need your turkeys when it's Thanksgiving. I don't need your food basket when it's Christmas time. You need to make sure that our streets are safer. You need to make sure that our car is not going to get torn up from driving down the street and trying to avoid potholes. You know, you need to make sure that there are programs out there to keep our children busy and off the streets. And I call them to task. You got to go to those school board meetings. You got to go to those city council meetings. You got to go to the state capitol and fight for stuff. But you got to remember, if we're not unified in doing it, no one's going to do anything, because unfortunately we have a lot of sheep and not a lot of leaders.
Right.
So the leaders got to step up and also train others to be leaders, uplift others, because we're all getting older. You know, those that have been in the game for years, they tired of hearing us talk. Yeah. But if they start seeing more people, newer people, younger people being a part of those voices that need to be heard to affect change, it's going to happen. And unfortunately, we have an entire generation, of people that, because it didn't affect them directly,
right,
they have a sense of apathy. Yeah, you know, I wasn't around when Dr. King or Malcolm X, you know, I wasn't a Black Panther, I wasn't a Brown Beret, you know, I wasn't of any of those things. Yeah, but your grandparents were. It doesn't matter if you are reaping the benefits of what they did, lest you forget. And for everything that keeps on happening, history will repeat itself because no one feels that they should also, you know, fight and bleed and sweat and march and protest. We got to bring that back. We have to bring it back.
My brother Arbach, peace, King, says, why did they take the cooking class, the sewing class, the woodshop class, the metal shop class, etc., out of the schools? No more trade classes. Then he also says we need to stop being envious of one another. In the 60s, they went through hell, but did not stop with the cause of getting the civil rights bill getting approved. The people.
Caller.
Oh, we got a call. If it ain't a debt collector, the people were strong for sticking together. Hold on. Peace and blessings. Welcome to Real Talk with Kasim.
Peace, beloved.
Stop being envious of
Peace,
one
King.
another. They went to hell, but did not.
I'm gonna go ahead and
the cause of getting civil rights
you for a second.
of the civil rights bill. Getting
Beloved, before you speak, your sound on your system, you have to turn it down. We hear it.
Copy that. All right.
And who's speaking?
This is Daryl Finley, man. Peace, beloved. How are you?
Peace, King. How you feeling, King?
I'm well, man. Peace to the panel.
They all say peace to you, beloved.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to make a point about the $1.3 trillion a year. I do know that is that's a U.S. Census stat. So to Brother Marvin's point, we don't know if that's true or not. But the reason for us being or needing to become financially literate so that we could build things of our own. I don't know if you brothers and sisters are aware that the government now is cutting out. They're giving like $10,000 grants to people who move their children from public schools to private and charter schools. Once that really starts happening, where is the person who can't get an education going to go? Where are our kids going to go? Where are our grandkids going to go to school? Texas is already passing that bill as we speak. So it's just going to start to regurgitate itself all across the country. So we need to start building things like schools. I'm working with an organization to try to build something in Passaic as we speak. We don't know if we're going to get that building, but it used to be the old Catholic school building just down from the old Jefferson Bakery. I forgot the name of the school building right now.
Or St. Anthony's. Which school?
I think it's St. Anthony's.
Okay.
So, but that building has been for sale for quite some time.
Right. It used to be
So
for a minute. It was
that's why
the
I say
Islamic
financial
school.
literacy.
Right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That's my whole point about the financial literacy, so that we could pool that money, even if it's not 1.3 trillion. That's close enough for us to be able to understand how we got a better move, because they're going to move where the money moves, and even on the political scene.
Right.
If the politicians are getting the right amount of money to their campaigns, then you kind of control them. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to learn, and this is where we start. So I want to thank you guys, man, the panel as well as Brother Kasim for doing this, because this is where we start. Grassroots level, grassroots education. And to Marvin's point, the history of everything is very important too, because you can't get to where you're trying to get to if you don't know where you came from.
That's
so peace, beloved.
Brother, we respect and we honor your wisdom. Thank you for taking the initiative of calling. It means a lot to us. Appreciate you, King. And Maritza has something to say.
Yes, with regards to that money's being given to families to put their children in private schools. I am pro-choice when it comes to school. If you are able to put your child in a better school, by all means do so. My concern is for all those children that are in these communities that will not get $10,000. And even if they did, how was the rest of that tuition going to be paid? And I lost my job for speaking that truth in my community well over a year ago when I was working for that national organization, Kasim, because I talked about it at my state capitol. I said, you want to give vouchers to families, $10,000 is not going to cover a child's tuition in a private school.
Right.
When the tuition is $25,000 and $30,000, maybe even $40,000 a year. So who's going to take care of the difference? So why not take that money and make the public education system better? And for those that do not understand that charter schools, most of them are public schools. So the conversation about money being taken from district schools, it's a myth. They are also, now there are private charter schools out there, but the majority now in the urban areas of our country are public charter schools. It's just a different alternative means for a family. Those schools have more autonomy when it comes to how they're going to educate the children and sometimes discipline the children. The only bad side for that, from what I've seen personally, is that sometimes these charter schools do not accept our children. They are free to say no if a child is special needs. That's my only concern with that. Or if a child does not speak English. They say they don't have the resources to provide a bilingual education, regardless of the language the child speaks. So, I mean, we do have to start somewhere. We do need to work together to make a change. Absolutely.
Wow.
Respect, love, honesty, admiration, and upliftment is needed at all times. Peace, light, and love.
Peace and blessings. I'm going to reiterate this to you all again. We need you all to go to the YouTube. And we need you all to go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button on Real Talk with Kasim. We need the channel we need you all to help us grow this channel. So please go to YouTube on the Real Talk with Kasim and subscribe to the channel. And I want to say thank you to the King Marco for sending the donation. Appreciate that. We really, truly appreciate that. Everyone who can, if you can send a donation, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's $1. We're not going to say how much you put on, just say thank you for the donation. If you could just send $1, please cash out Real Talk with Kasim. That's $ Real Talk with Kasim. That's to help us get some more equipment for the show.
And yeah, thanks to Brother Darrell for calling up. Good brother right there. Always been a good brother. Still is.
And everyone, if you have anything to say, remember what you say. Some people don't like to call in because they're like, what I had to say then it wasn't fit for the show. There's no question that you can ask that's not important. Everything is important. Everything is important. So you could call in 973-905-1547. Brother, sister, question. I know we talked about this a long time ago, and most people talk about it to this day, but I have to reiterate this question and I have to ask, why is it so hard for us to unify? Some people say, no, it's not hard because we are unifying. If so, how would you see us unifying? That was a question that was asked. It was sent to me.
Wow. Well, we all came from a place. Some of us still live there. We all came from a place where when we were growing up, everyone was unified. When I talk about when I grew up in Passaic, people are like, does that place even exist? And I said, absolutely it exists. There was a place where all of us were more unified. But then things happened that changed. We can definitely say, because we've all seen it, the drug epidemic changed Passaic. The proliferation of the divisiveness of people coming in, who are you to come here and take over our businesses and take over our jobs and take over our schools? A lot of, I think those kinds of things are happening across the country. A lot of hate speech. A lot of it was stated here in the comments earlier, jealousy. A lot of jealousy. I am happy for you if you were doing well. I am happy for you if you were out there doing the things you dreamed about doing. My concern is whether or not you are also sharing how you got there.
Right.
It's a me mentality, and it should not be.
Right.
We have to work with each other and help lift each other up. And that's what I've always been saying. If you are successful, if you are a successful business person, if you are a successful small business entrepreneur, if you are a successful educator, if you are a successful tradesman and working in the trades, share that information out. Somebody said to you, brother, how long you been working for the city of Passaic? How do you get that job? What do I need to do? Brother, you about to get your doctorate. You studying for your doctorate. What do I need to do to get there? What can I explain to my children to help them get to, on that path? Me. How do I become an advocate in my community? What do I need to do to organize? I'll be happy to sit down with anyone and talk to them about it. And that's the difference. There are a lot of people that are not. They get theirs and they step. They move out. They move away. They don't want to help improve, or they don't come back. For those that come back to their communities and pour back into them what was poured into them when they were younger, I applaud you. Every year, Kasim, you and the brothers and sisters that do it in the park, every year, you guys come back and bring something back to the community. And all those that support, bring something back. We have people that come from other states every year in July to go back to Passaic. And it's one of the most beautiful things that I see. Yeah. But once it's over, where's the unity? Where's the unity? What happens to it? We got to bring that back.
Brother Brian Shepherd, the King, said, so would it be in our best to start our own charter schools, and how do we go about doing it?
Yeah, we can start our own schools. There are many educators that we know, many educators, many administrators, people that have been superintendents of school districts. Yeah. So many of us know teachers. Many of us know people that are good with technology. Many of us, in school these days does not just have to be about reading, writing, and arithmetic. Bring back the trades. Bring back the cooking classes, the sewing classes. Bring it all back. The auto body shop. Bring it all back, because not everyone is going to be going to college.
Right. That is so right.
Well, listen. Absolutely. But here's the thing. We're talking about a Passaic, like pretty much the 60s, 70s, and then maybe midway through the 80s. And the economy has ultimately changed. A lot of those jobs that people could get are no longer here. And so that ultimately becomes a problem. I think you said it earlier, and I wanted to reiterate something. We can start you talked about we can start our charter schools, but the lion's share of our children are still going to be in those publics. So we got to do both. We have to be nimble enough to be able to do both. Start those charters, but fix the publics, because the mass amount of our children are going to be in those particular schools. And we don't want to create what you were talking about, this elitist group of individuals who ultimately go off and say bye-bye. We ain't coming back. We're gone, and we ain't ever coming back. So we don't want to keep ultimately recreating that. But we also have to remember that it's not just like people just decided that, okay, we're not going to. There were forces that ultimately pushed people to separate themselves. It became a nation, just the larger nation became a real live individualistic nation. And now folks are thinking for themselves. When you talk about upwardly mobile Black and Latino folks, let's keep it a buck right here, because the history points out many of them have been trying to get out since our arrival in this land, right? They just couldn't, because white folks wouldn't let them. They were able to go on the outskirts of a particular city. Maybe not leave Passaic, but go to Passaic Park. So they couldn't necessarily leave, ultimately. But they tried. They also have their class interests. And sometimes Maritza was talking about it, and you were talking about it. Sometimes we get confused, all skin folk and kinfolk. We know that. So just because they look like us doesn't mean that they serve our interests. The other thing is that Daryl talked about it. They're owned generally by other communities, own our politicians, particularly. If we didn't groom them, then don't expect them to serve our interests. I'm talking about if you groom politicians within the communities that we exist, from the time they're in the lower grades all the way up, to understand that your purpose for being there is to serve the community, not any outside investors who come into these communities. But if somebody delivers you somebody that looks like you, they're not going to serve you when they were delivered by somebody else. That's the one crucial mistake. The other thing is that if you're in politics, it's service. And you have to understand that you shouldn't be running to think about your reelection, because if you think about your reelection, you're probably going to be extremely careful not to step on any toes. But my thing is that you won't have to worry about that if you take care of the people. Because if you're taking care of the day-to-day needs of the people, I don't care who comes in, they ain't going to let that you get voted out.
Right.
Maritza took care of us. We ain't voting her out. We don't care how much money you try to slide in my pocket. She took care of us. And that's the kind of politicians that we ultimately need. The ones that we groom. If we don't groom them, we don't own them. And if somebody else is owning them, they're going to serve the interests of those other people that own them. The ones that Maritza is talking about, she's on every day. And understand that it really, if everybody does a little bit, no one person has to do a lot. That's pretty much how it ultimately works. If we all have to do a little, so so they can't target the one or two people who are out there in them streets, because everybody's involved in this. It's like you say in the civil rights movement, you can't arrest all of us. You'll overflow those jails. That was the mentality of those folks who ultimately are the reason why we get the little crumbs that we get. You forget that. That's the importance of history. Somebody's blood, sweat, and tears pave the road for you to ultimately walk through the doors. I'm not in Passaic High School teaching if it wasn't for the struggles of the brothers and sisters and folks who came before us that opened those doors, they kicked those doors down. And so the one thing we can do, when Gil Noble started the show Like It Is on Channel 7 for years, he said that he understood that the only reason he was able to be a news correspondent was because Black folks and Latino folks in those communities said, don't send no white reporters down here. We ain't want to talk to them. We don't want to talk to them. We ain't talking to them. So they got hired because of that. He said, so since that's the case, I'm beholden to the people who are responsible for me being in this position. It's as simple as that. Those are the people who are responsible.
He was 100. He remembers fighting alongside.
That's ultimately why you have to understand that the reason we doing these things is because we are. All right.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. I didn't even know that this was sent. But let me. Brother Brian Shepard said, I have to ask, did you brothers get the clip I sent in Messenger? Wait, let me have to put that. Why I even play this? I have to put up that thing for free or play it. Gotta put that fair use up. Of course we can hear it. Let me see if you can you see this if I put this up right here? Can y'all see that? Marv Maritza? Yeah? All right, put this quick.
It was 101 when she died. My great-grandfather just died 3 weeks ago. He was 100. He remembers fighting alongside white veterans in World War II. He remembers coming back and seeing his white veterans get homes and lands and pensions and the door being slammed in his face. And we are going to say that America that says liberty and justice for all, that's okay. Get over it. Keep it moving. While we have to hear never forget for everyone else's tragedy. And as far as from where reparations will come, I need people to stop thinking is going to come from their tax dollars. Look at all the trillions that America spends right now. We talk about inflation, the invisible tax. We have something called the PPP loans. Do we remember the PPP loans? America spent $6 trillion on PPP loans. You know what they just did? They canceled all of it. And we didn't even know. America gave the corporations, the banks alone, $29 trillion. You know what they did with that? They canceled all of it. So let's stop acting as if America is as hamstrung by debt as they want to pretend. Because when America wants to pay for something, they find a way to do it. And truth be told, the corporations, again, aren't hurting. The defense manufacturers aren't hurting. It's only Americans who are hurting. And that is a choice. We all know it's a choice. That's why we're running for office, because we know this country can do better. So I refuse to accept that this country can't do right by a people they've wronged for centuries. And I refuse to accept that any justice-minded person thinks that's the right thing.
I had the show when we get people
Amen.
that's locked into the show when they send us something, we want to acknowledge you that you took the time out to do some research or you want us to see something, we put it on. Anybody have anything? Look, and also, let me say this. I have exactly 2 minutes left. The reason why is because I have a grandson now. I'm seeing for the first time. They snuck up here. I just got the text and everything. They brought my sister Kenya's house. And I was like, oh, it's getting late. But listen, though, but everybody who was tuning in, whether like I say, you tune in now or in the replay, Real Talk with Kasim comes on every Saturday at 7 p.m. Every Saturday at 7 p.m. There are going to be times when we're not going to have no guests on. It'll just be me, and I'm going to open it up for general conversation, but we're going to speak because the information has to get out there. Maybe Maritza one day, I won't be here. She uses the platform for information. Marv, Real Talk will go on every Saturday at 7 p.m. And I always say, just because my name is on it, does not by no means mean it's about me. It's about we two right here. So like I said, there's going to be times when I'm not even going to be on here. Like I said, Maritza might call me and say, look, I want to do something on Real Talk this night. Maritza, here's the information. Go ahead, sis. Marv might do it, or because it's about spreading information. I don't always have to be up here, but the information has to go across. Of course, long as there ain't nobody out here. You're not using Real Talk to mislead our people. You're not going to do that under no circumstances. You're not going to come up here and spread no gossip, no rhetoric, no lies. We trying to prick the consciousness of us as a people, and we use this platform as a programmatic thrust to lift us up out of our situation. That's what Real Talk is about, period. So we got a few minutes left. And the outro. Look, when I say we got a few minutes left, I see Marv ain't like that. You know, Marvin want to build. Not really playing with you. I'm really playing with you.
I want to hang with my wife. I'm out when you out.
But I want to let everybody know too, though, that these last two shows that we put together, because I give the roses while we still alive. Marv tapped into me. Look, we need to do this. We need to do that. I know such and such. So I didn't even have to go on my book and reach out. Marv has his connects. So let's do it like this. He was adamant about, yo, you got to reach out. What she say? Did you hear from her? Did you call her?
Oh, yeah, no, that's my homie.
I'm letting everybody know because I like to give the credit where the credit is due. Played a vocal part in these last two shows. And there's upcoming shows. Saturday, we'll be on. We post flyers for every show. We'll let you know what it's about. And there are going to be times where they ain't going to be able to call in because the call-in might be a distraction based upon the information that might be given. And then there's other times where it might be 2-3 weeks, a whole month where you can call in. But everyone is welcome when you take the initiative, the time to put a comment in. The comment is always going to be displayed. So therefore, because we don't want nobody just writing something in and you don't get acknowledged. Brother Dow said peace to the panel.
Peace, brother. Always.
Brother Brian says, thank you for coming, Maritza. He says, just like you said, Marv, the government has the money to do what they want. Brother Dow Finney says, congratulations. Oh, thank you, brother. Yeah, I got a grandson. I got a granddaughter. Most of y'all know her. Jada, she be singing and all that. I do agree. This is Regina Robinson Harris, peace and blessings queen. I think she's new to the show. She says, I do agree. The per pupil charter school cost is approximately 86 cents for every dollar district spent. Wow. Wow. So in our outgoing and our conclusion, I'm going to open the door to Maritza first and then Brother Marv.
I want to say thank you Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for everyone that's tuning in. You making me want to bring my show back. I've been
Bring it
thinking
back.
about it. I've been
Bring it
thinking
back,
about
sister.
it.
Bring it back.
I've been thinking about it seriously, but yeah, information does need to be shared. For all of you that are out there, you know, speak to those in your community. Have conversations. Don't wait until it's a bad situation to get together and talk about what's needed in our communities. Just be part of the conversation. Be involved. Don't just say somebody else is going to take care of it. That's my message.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to leave with a quote from a revolutionary psychologist, Brother Wade Nobles. It's the duty of the elders to protect the community from ignorance. And we are elders now. You know, we ain't the little kids running around. We pop and mama now. You know,
Right.
we ain't that's what that's who we are. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be 60 in what? 24 days. We there.
Wow. I gotta get out to you, bro.
We are there. So that's our job.
God
We
willing.
can ultimately rebuild this. We are here because we are, you know, we are the children of those folks who resisted. So we have to continue to resist. That's our tradition, ultimately. And thank you for all of those who showed up. Love always to my hometown, Passaic. Always that, you know, wherever I'm at, Passaic is represented. And peace, family.
Everyone help me thank Dr. Marvin, Dr. Maritza for coming on. You know, we appreciate you. We appreciate you both. I do. I have no problem with getting on my phone, calling both of you. You both just can call me. And to everyone out there, listen, man. If you are dealing with some type of struggle, and at times it may be feeling like you're being overwhelmed, my thing to you is to don't give up. Don't give up, because tomorrow, inshallah, God willing, if the universe allows, is another day. Try to conquer it. A lot of things don't get accomplished in our time, according to our perspective. Some of us, like myself, I used to be a guy, I want it now, right now. And if I can't get it now, then the hell with it, forget. No, you can't have that mindset. Everything is a process in life. Not give up. And the number one thing that you don't give up on is yourself.
That's right.
Do not give up on yourself. So if anybody is going through something, my mother got a famous quote that she's known by. Some people don't even know her name, but they know the quote. And she says, if it ain't all right, it's going to be all right. So my thing to you all, you have to free yourself so you can see yourself. And when you see yourself, you could be yourself. Peace, light, love, and liberation to you all. Please go on YouTube and subscribe to Real Talk with Kasim on YouTube. And until next Saturday, if the universe allows, we will be back at 7 p.m. on Saturday. Maritza, love you, Queen.
Love you, Queen.
Salute, Marv.
Okay,
Salute
that's
you, King.
Peace
You
and
got-
love to all. All right now.
Peace to everyone.
All right, peace, brother. Peace, sis. Take it easy.